All right, welcome to question 5, another old exam question. So here we're asked to determine the sample size needed for an interval estimate of the population proportion. And this formula that we'll be using comes from equation 8.7 or page 370 in the textbook. And we are trying to find the sample size that we need. And we need to use a z-score with alpha divided by 2 squared times our estimated sample proportion, p star, times 1 minus the estimated sample proportion, p star, all divided by our the margin of error there, E. Sorry, just lost my train of thought. So in some problems, you might be given the exact sample proportion that you need, in which case you can use that. Usually that's taken from some previous sample proportion used in some previous study. But if you're not given that, then there are some guidelines given in Chapter 8 for how to estimate the population, or estimate the sample proportion. So this is the estimated sample proportion. So in this problem, we're not told anything about the sample proportion, so we're just going to use an estimate. And in this case, we're going to use an estimate of 0.5, which is a good estimated sample proportion to use when you don't know what else to use. And in this case, we are going to perform this interval estimation using a confidence interval of 90%. And so if you look at table 8.1 in the textbook, you'll find that the significance level here is going to be 0.10, and so alpha divided by 2 is 0.05, and we're going to be using a z-score, as indicated already in the formula here, a z-score of 0.05 from table 8.1, and we get a value of a z-score of 1.645. And finally, we want to estimate this interval with a desired margin of error equal to 0.2. These are all things that you'd be given in the problem. I mean, you'll have to find your z-score here, but everything else is given. So now we essentially just plug and chug. So plugging in what we know, n is equal to 1.645 squared times 0.5, our estimated sample proportion, times 1 minus 0.5, another 0.5, divided by 0.2 squared. And this gives us a sample size of 1,691.27. But we can't survey a sample of 1,691.27 people, or 0.27 units of inventory. So in this case, we always round up. And this is very important. So the answer actually for the sample size is 1,692. This is how large our sample size needs to be in order to have this confidence interval of 90% with a margin of error of 0.2, so that we have the right population proportion.